Ampers, how you doing? Joel here again for week 3 mindfulness segment in the AMP program. Welcome back. It's my hope that by now you've gotten used to practicing mindfulness. Maybe you've even seen some benefits of that practice as it helps you to maintain attention on things you intend to pay attention to, your homework or anything else. So far, we've gone through what mindfulness is and how our attention spans or our awareness can be real squirrely. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be something that we can benefit from harnessing to succeed in our classes, our relationships, our lives. So yeah, hopefully that's all making sense to you. Today, we're going to level up our mindfulness by discussing a mindful navigation of our emotions. And this is higher level. This is some complex, advanced type of mindful awareness that really can help you succeed even more in maintaining and sustaining attention on something. And I'll explain briefly how that might be. So I too am a really distractible guy. I have experienced some I've had some experiences in my life where that distractibility has made me feel bad. It's made me feel frustrated. It's made me feel incapable. I've felt disappointed in myself. And the list kind of goes on. These emotional responses to my distractibility has sucked. And because of those feelings, I've tended to avoid them, and that can equate to avoiding the activity that brings up that feeling. So if it's homework and trying to sustain attention on an assignment or a reading that brings up these feelings, I might put off that reading or that assignment just because I don't want to feel that way. And it might be conscious, it might be unconscious. Something I say a lot to a lot of people is that I really believe that procrastination is most often an emotional avoidance problem rather than a time management problem. That so often people just don't want to, whether consciously or unconsciously, experience their emotions, that they put the thing off so that they don't have to feel it, and then until it becomes too late or it's last minute, and then we feel that energy of the rush to complete our work on time. But it doesn't bode well for sustainability and low stress in those last minute study or cram sessions. So it's just an interesting take on what procrastination can mean. So, how does mindfulness help us with this? Well, I really think that when there's a lot of evidence that when we avoid our emotions, they become even more difficult to cope with when they come up. So the answer, or the antidote, can be to actually acknowledge that they're there and figure out what they're saying. Oftentimes when we do this, we can recognize, or we come to the recognition, that our emotions aren't that bad, that we can actually cope with or tolerate the stress that comes up. Maybe more so than we thought we could. It's just that avoidance, and we're actually getting rewarded for avoiding in our brains. There's a dopaminergic response to avoidance that's kind of a bugger. But it's hard to break that pattern and then get into the actual activity and break that pattern of avoidance. So I guess quite simply, that's how mindfulness can help. We can recognize or be intentional about recognizing things that come up. So you might have a reading that you're avoiding or something. And you get yourself to do it, and then you kind of invite the feeling that comes into mind to see it and hold it. And understand what it's about. Maybe it's about feeling frustrated that you can't retain information, or that your mind wanders after a paragraph and you can't get through a page, and that just feels bad. Okay, that's okay. I think that when we recognize that feeling exists, it can be easier to tolerate and continue with the reading rather than getting down on yourself and struggling with the fact that the feeling exists and avoiding it. It's much like a metaphor that I think of a lot in terms of jumping into a cold swimming pool. Maybe on a cold day. Maybe it's like 70, 80 degrees or something. So not too cold, but jumping into a swimming pool might be more cold than we want. We know that when we jump in that water, it's going to be this rush of cold, and that's the thing that we're avoiding. At the same time, our friends are already in the water. They're having a lot of fun, splashing around. You're a little kid. So we stand on the side of the pool and we start getting goosebumps. It's getting colder. You're avoiding that rush of cold. All the while, your brain is, responding with with dopamine in your brain that's rewarding that process of sitting on the side. Now it's a sneaky reward because it's not that fun to stand on the side of a pool, so we don't really feel that great about it. But there is this rewarding response, neurophysiologically speaking, that keeps us from jumping in even more. We get colder and colder, and then the prospect of jumping in becomes harder and harder. That coldness is going to be even bigger because we're getting colder as we're sitting on the side of the pool. All the while, jumping in and feeling that cold is something that our bodies will very quickly get used to. We will feel that cold rush, but once we do, our bodies will get used to it within a matter of seconds, and we'll be able to go have fun with our friends. That's similar to how we might navigate our emotional responses. And what today's exercise in mindfulness is focused on. Through mindfulness today, I'm going to invite you to jump into the pool of whatever a difficult emotion is. And with that, I think you might recognize that, hey, this is easier to tolerate than I thought. And maybe I can roll with this better than I thought. And then as you practice that, these emotions become less of a barrier to your progress in school, relationships, life, etc. That they are meaningful, that they have a place in your life, but they don't have to define your behavior, your procrastination, avoidance, etc. So I'm going to forward you on to another guided meditation with the acronym RAIN. It centers around this acronym RAIN, which stands for recognize, accept, investigate, and non-identify. Those will make more sense as you do the exercise, but are somewhat self-explanatory in how we might invite our emotional responses into our awareness and navigate them mindfully. Hopefully that's making sense. Good work on you. Thank you for being a part of this, and good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.